you, I think you're about to make off without payment, and if I don't arrest you, then you will make off without payment. So there's my grounds.
Well, I'm offering to make payment.
Come out of the car, please.
Yeah,
Welcome to the space where truth meets transparency. Here, we shine a light on questionable conduct, dissect legal and police actions, and stand firm in defense of civil rights. Today's spotlight falls on a gripping real-world clash between law and misunderstanding, brought to you by independent auditor Brett Chamberlain. Make sure to visit his channel via the link below and show your support. Following the viral storm from Brett's previous coin audit, this new episode takes the drama up a notch. It unfolds at a Tesco fuel station, where Brett attempts to pay for petrol using a 100-pound Royal Mint coin, an official legal tender. Instead of accepting the payment, staff call the police, claiming he's refusing to pay. A sergeant arrives, gets a crash course in currency law, but still sides with the store and arrests Brett. That decision backfires spectacularly. Brett takes the matter to court, wins a substantial settlement, and leaves the officer facing serious legal consequences.
This is what's going to happen. Okay, so you've done your bit checking on legislation, I've just checked on my legislation. As I said to you, the shop does not have to accept it just because it is legal tender. You said it's legal tender, you are correct, however it is a commemorative coin. On the internet, they're worth about 20 quid.
Well,
right, so here is what is going to happen. Either you are going to pay for your fuel correctly, or you are going to fill out their civil recovery form so that you can arrange to make payment at a later date, or I'm going to arrest you for bilking.
What's bilking?
Bilking, making off without payment. You've got to the point where payment is due, you're now refusing to make payment, therefore I will treat it as a criminal offence. So how would you wish to proceed at this point?
Well, I have got means to pay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not going to fill out a civil recovery form.
Okay, right, so what's the means that
what was the option two?
So option one is either you pay, option two is you fill out the form, option three is that you get arrested.
Well, pay.
No, you pay with legal tender that they will accept.
That is legal tender.
No, they don't have,
But if it's a £50 note and he said, oh look, we don't accept £50 notes because there's lots of forgeries.
Exactly.
Would you be doing exactly the same thing now?
Yes, so if you go into a corner shop and try and pay for a penny chew with a £50 note, they are perfectly within their rights to refuse that sale.
The sergeant's initial claim of bilking, a term for leaving without paying, falls apart under scrutiny. According to the Theft Act of 1978, two conditions must be met. The person must leave the premises and intend to dodge payment. Brett did neither. He remained on site, seated in his car, and actively tried to pay. When Brett presented a 100-pound coin minted by the Royal Mint, the sergeant dismissed it, saying it depends on what the store accepts. That's a fundamental misunderstanding. Once fuel is dispensed, a debt exists, and offering legal tender satisfies that debt under UK law. A cashier's personal preference or lack of awareness doesn't override legal statutes. By backing Tesco instead of the law, the officer revealed a troubling gap in his understanding of basic legal principles.
I've offered a form of payment that they will not accept. The principle is exactly the same.
Well, if you arrest me, it'll be a wrongful arrest.
Yeah? It's not. It's a lawful arrest because I've explained the situation and I've explained that I believe you're doing this for
Are you a sergeant or an officer?
I am a sergeant.
Right.
Okay, so my point is also that coin is not worth the face value of it. It's not legal tender in such a way that this shop has to accept it as being valued at £100.
Okay, so it has. Hang on.
Short of the mark.
No, I'm not. So it is got a face value of £100, so it is worth £100.
It's not.
Well, you say that, but the Bank of England, the House of Commons, the state. All the institutions that came before you say it is, right, but you say it isn't, right? Now you say it's only worth whatever you say it was. Interestingly, I don't know if you've looked at the price of silver, but that's probably worth about £48 in silver. Hang on, I haven't finished yet. So that's £48 in silver, whereas, how much is a £20 note or a £50 note worth in plastic? What, a penny or two?
Things took a bizarre turn when Brett explained a coin's face value, only to be told it was just commemorative. That's incorrect. Any coin issued by the Royal Mint with a stated value is legal tender, whether commemorative or not. Its legitimacy isn't based on popularity or circulation, but on legal designation. The sergeant's refusal to acknowledge this shows a serious lapse in understanding currency law. The 100-pound coin, backed by the Crown and Treasury, is valid for settling debts. Dismissing it based on opinion rather than statute undermines the very foundation of lawful payment systems.
Do you want to check to make sure it's not an unlawful arrest?
Another unit, please. This chap's about to be arrested.
Would it be unlawful arrest?
It's not a wrongful arrest.
It would be a wrongful arrest. Well, how can you arrest somebody for refusing to pay when they're offering to pay with a coin of the realm?
Because you're not offering to pay with payment that they can accept or will accept or have to accept. No.
Now, interestingly, you said that you've done some research on this and I've done this before.
Yeah.
Well, what was the outcome of it last time?
It was no further action.
Why was that then?
I don't know.
Well, how come you've
But
got a record of that?
I'm about to let you drive off from here.
Well, how come you got a record that I did it last time, but you haven't got a record of the outcome?
Why? Because I haven't got time to look at that right now.
But you have got time to arrest me and deal with all the paperwork that'll be involved in that.
Yep.
So that's just abusing your power, I think, because what you're trying to do
It's
is
using my power proportionally. These people here are trying to run a business, and you are making life extremely difficult by
I'm
being
not.
obstructive in how you're going to pay.
No, I'm not.
Shockingly, the sergeant admitted he'd encountered similar situations before, but couldn't recall the outcomes. That's not experience. That's repetition without learning. Worse still, when asked to verify the law, he brushed it off, claiming he didn't have time. Moments later, he had plenty of time to arrest Brett and fill out paperwork. This isn't responsible policing, it's reactive ego. Arrests should be based on clear facts, not assumptions. Brett hadn't fled, hadn't refused payment, and was holding a coin recognized by law. The facts were plain, but the officer chose force over reason.
I'm only here to enforce the law. I'm not here to decide. I just suspect that an offence has taken place. Okay? So I'm not convicting you, and you're refusing, to cooperate with me any further. You're refusing to resolve this situation by giving these people your details. So therefore,
No, I don't, because what you're trying to encourage me to do is not to give them my details, but to fill out a legally binding form. You're actually encouraging me to fill out a legally binding form, right? That would be detrimental to me.
Why? Because you have to pay for your fuel just like everybody else in this petrol station.
No, because you're forcing me not to use cash. It's exactly the same as you.
No, I'm forcing you to provide the legal tender that this business is willing to accept.
But it's not for them to pick and choose.
It is, absolutely.
No, it's not.
If they will only accept payment in Pokemon cards, that is entirely up to them.
Yeah, but they need to state that on the pump, right? When I take the fuel, they need to say payment only in Pokemon. I'm not trying to. What do you think? What do you think I'm trying to achieve then out of this?
So why are you not willing to offer any other sort of payment? You have bank cards on you?
Maybe it's a matter of principle. This is a coin of the realm. You shouldn't be threatening to arrest me because of their preference as to what type of note or coin they accept. That's ridiculous.
Trying to paint Brett as someone pulling a stunt is misleading. He wasn't sneaking away. He was standing right there, offering legal payment. The accusation crumbles when you realize he never left the forecourt, never concealed his intent, and presented a coin issued by the UK government. When asked why he didn't just pay another way, Brett's answer was powerful. It's about principle. If the law says the coin is valid, then that should be enough. If stores and police can override that with personal bias, then legal tender loses its meaning. Suddenly, it's not the law defining money, it's individual opinion.
That's not your job, is it, to state what type of coin that Tesco accepts or not?
It's my job to make sure that you don't go past the point of payment without making
Well,
payment.
I haven't driven off, have I? I've got every intention of paying with this coin.
No.
If I had no intention, if I was trying to do something dishonest, I'd driven off, wouldn't I? But the fact is, I've waited here for you to come, and I've discussed it with you. I've tried to explain it, being very civil, and be rude, have I? In any way, I've got no disrespect for the police whatsoever. Might go downhill a bit if you arrest me unlawfully.
Okay.
I just think, please just check that it's a lawful arrest. I don't think it is.
I believe it is.
And the whole point of cash and legal tender is that you cannot be successfully prosecuted for non-payment if you've offered legal tender. So if I had Scottish notes, right, now they're not legal tender in the UK, they're not legal tender full stop, but Tesco's actually accept those.
Brett's explanation to the sergeant was spot on. You can be prosecuted for non-payment if you've already offered legal tender. That's the core of the issue. The law states that once valid currency is offered, the debt is discharged, regardless of whether the retailer accepts it. His comparison to Scottish banknotes was brilliant. Technically, they aren't legal tender in England, yet they're accepted daily across the country. So why would Tesco reject a £100 coin that is legal tender? The inconsistency is glaring. and the sergeant's stance only amplified the confusion.
There was an invitation to take the fuel, and I've taken the fuel, and now I've got a debt, and I'm offering to pay the debt in legal tender. Now in the store, it's different because I haven't taken the food, have I? In fact, if I'd have eaten the food, I'd be obligated to pay for it, and then it'd be the same scenario, just the same as if you went into a restaurant and had a meal, you know, and then you have to pay afterwards, and you offered to pay in that. Right? They can't lawfully have you prosecuted for failure to pay if you've offered a reasonable means of payment and they've refused to accept it.
Yeah, but you've refused to identify yourself to this person.
Well, I don't need to, do I?
I'm now starting to view your actions as being dishonest.
How have I been dishonest?
I suspect an offence is going to
How have I been dishonest?
Because you're refusing to give your information to this gentleman, so that...
But he's not entitled to my information, is he?
He is.
Okay, if I told you what my...
Because you have a debt to settle up with him.
This is...
So to go to the restaurant scenario, if you ate your meal and then said, oh, I've forgotten my wallet, I've got no means of paying.
Oh, no means of paying.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So at that point you're not being dishonest. At the point that you refuse to identify yourself, or you put Mickey Mouse care of Disney World on a piece of paper and say, here's my details, you're then becoming dishonest.
What about if, like, we went to the restaurant, we had a meal, right, and then I pulled out a £50 note and they said, look, we don't accept £50 notes. They can't make a decision about refusing to accept the £50 notes when you owe them money. They can only refuse to go through with the transaction in the first place. It's only because you've had the goods and you owe a debt that they can't refuse to accept the money.
Brett's analogy using a restaurant scenario cuts through the noise. Imagine eating a meal and then being told your £50 note isn't acceptable. That's not how payment works. Businesses can choose payment methods before service, but once goods are provided, they must accept legal tender. The same applies at the petrol station. The fuel was already in Brett's tank. He offered valid currency. That should have ended the matter. The sergeant's failure to grasp this wasn't a minor error. It was a collapse in legal comprehension. By prioritizing Tesco's preference over statute, he turned a civil misunderstanding into a wrongful arrest.
Right, so these coins are made by the Royal Mint.
Yep, and they're on legal tender.
And they are legal tender. Yeah. So how can I be refusing to pay and being dishonest in any way when I'm offering to pay with a coin of the realm, a legal tender?
Because you've offered a form of payment that they are unable or unwilling to accept. Therefore, as I said, the onus is on you to find alternative means. You've failed to do that. And you are now proposing to leave here without actually giving any means of identification so they can arrange at a later date to make payment with you. So therefore, because of that, I suspect that you are about to commit an offence of making off without payment.
See, now I reckon that if you've offered to pay, and I've offered to pay lots of times, got it on video, and right, and they refuse to accept the payment, I can't see how that I've committed a crime, even if I don't pay.
To provide an alternative means of payment or come to an alternative agreement.
So what you're suggesting is that you're going to arrest me based on the opinion of a Tesco staff member, whereas another member of staff might have.
Based on my suspicion.
Suspicion.
I'm sure with the amount of time this gentleman has spent here, and the fact that other colleagues are aware of the fact that we have been here for half an hour?
Nah, 16 minutes.
I'm sure if he were able to take that coin, he would have done it by now, because he's got plenty of other things to do. You are costing them money by the fact that your car's sat here taking out these 2 lanes.
Well, I've offered to move it, but he said no.
If they could...
I offered to move it, but he said no.
But if they were willing to take this at any point, they would have done by now.
Now, don't you think, Ben, right, that the country's biggest retailer would have a simple, basic understanding of coins of the realm and the legal tender situation and what they can do and what they can't do?
Well, they clearly do by the fact that they are not obliged to take it just because it's legal tender.
Because he said so. But how do you know he's right? And how do you know that what he's saying is the opinion of Tesco's as a company as a whole?
It's not that he's right, it's that the Bank of England is right, and it's the Bank of England that states that the shopkeepers are not legally obliged to accept any royal tender.
Right, okay, I understand where you're coming from with that, but that's referring to buying something from a store, not for paying a debt.
Okay, it's still the same,
it's not.
Same situation.
No,
okay.
It's not.
That's fine.
It's actually on the Bank of England website what legal tender is.
Yeah, it is. As I said, I have no argument with you about that at all.
The sergeant tried to justify his actions by quoting the Bank of England, saying retailers aren't required to accept legal tender. That's only half true. The rule applies before goods are supplied. Once a product is delivered, a debt exists, and legal tender must be accepted to settle it. This is the distinction Brett emphasized. Buying fuel isn't like browsing shelves. Once the fuel is pumped, the transaction is no longer optional. At that point, the only question is whether the customer offers valid payment. Brett did. The refusal wasn't lawful. It was personal bias dressed up as policy.
Okay, so I'm arresting you on suspicion of making off without payment. You do not have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention when questioned something on which you later will rely on in court. Anything you do say may be within the evidence. Do you understand?
Yep.
Okay, so my intention at this time is to take you to Exeter Police Station, where you will put into custody. The reason for that is for the prompt and effective investigation of the offence and to confirm your identity and your name and address.
Well, it'll be unlawful arrest, won't it?
No, not at all.
Right, where do you want me to park my car
I have the
then?
suspicion that you're about to commit an offence.
Well, what offence am I committing?
I've told you, I think you're about to make off without payment, and if I don't arrest you, then you will make off without payment. So there's my grounds.
Well, I'm offering to make
Can you
payment.
come out of the car, please?
Yeah,
sir?
stop, no.
Okay.
There's no use to use violence, is there?
No, well, step out of the car,
let me
please.
just get my affairs together, alright?
Okay. Do you want to provide your details, or are you going to go to custody?
Well, I'll provide my details to you.
Yeah, but do you want to provide them to this man here?
No, but you want me to fill out a legal document.
Yep.
No, I'm not filling out a legal
Okay,
document.
out of the car then, please, sir.
The sergeant's reasoning for the arrest was deeply flawed. He admitted Brett hadn't committed a crime, only that he might. That's not how justice works. Brett was taken into custody, interrogated, and treated like a criminal over a payment method Tesco didn't like. But Brett didn't back down. He sued, and won. The result? A £5,000 payout. That figure speaks volumes. You don't pay thousands unless you know you were wrong. This case exposes how fragile policing becomes when officers ignore the law and act on assumptions. The sergeant's refusal to accept the coin, his dismissive attitude, and his reliance on what-ifs instead of facts turned a routine transaction into a legal disaster. Brett was vindicated not just in principle, but in court. This should serve as a wake-up call to every officer. Enforce the law as written, or risk being schooled by it.